Hey, good morning. Okay, so I want to just elaborate a little bit more on what's happening in Europe, especially Germany, and compare that to the US, China, and India on a economic scale. So what's happened over the last few years, especially since Biden's got in, and the Belgian Liberals' progressive climate changes, they've imposed new rules on fossil fuel, fossil burning. So Europe is being dictated to by a load of postgraduates or university goers that believe climate change is the biggest danger to mankind since the Stone Age. So what you've got now is the Belgium and obviously Brussels and Europeans dancing to the tune of these aggressive Green Party climate changes, which actually have gone completely over the top. We've got no real basis for their policies, and as a result of that, what they've done is they've impacted industrial production in countries like Germany. Germany is or was the powerhouse of Europe with its huge industrial might. That has now been chipped away and had its fingers clipped, so its industrial production has dropped to 2006 levels. Everyone might think that's great for the climate and that's great overall for mankind, but it's actually not, because what it's done, or what it will do, it's effectively closed down European factories, forced people onto the dole. So these people who are working these factories are labor intensive, okay, they're manual laborers, and now they're going to be sitting on the dole for the next 20-30 years, similar to what Margaret Thatcher organised or set up for central England, where you've got generations of unemployable people because they're manual labourers, the shipbuilders, the steel manufacturers, the car manufacturers, etc. So car manufacturing, steel manufacturing and overall industrial production in Germany has dropped off the scale. That is purely as a result of the climate boycott and the climate changes that want to make the world a better place to live in. They won't succeed, but that's what they believe. It would be normally acceptable if the whole world was involved in climate change, but you've got countries like China and India that aren't, so they don't give a damn. They'll just take over and absorb all of the lack of production in Europe and Germany, and they'll make it themselves, and they don't respect or honour any type of climate change. So what you're going to have is Germany going into, for the 7th month consecutive now, lower industrial production, and Germany's going to go into a recession, and that is going to have an impact obviously on the euro and overall production within the eurozone, overall growth in the eurozone. So it's going to go into a recession, and that will drag Europe into a recession, because Europe has this obsession with climate change, which is totally distorted, but they do have this obsession with climate change. As a result of that, they're going to ruin tens of thousands of everyday people's lives, because they won't have the income coming in order to support their lifestyle. So everyone's going to be on the dole, and obviously national debts are going to increase. Going over to China and India, well, China's also contracting, but they'll be happy to absorb any excess overflow of demand for industrial production, so China will take it up, and they're meanwhile making headway into third world countries to offer the third world countries the communist way of living. So they're big investors in third world countries, so even though China is contracting and going into potential recession if its GDP drops any more, it probably could bet your bottom dollar that China will turn around, because China being industrial and hardworking, they will rebuild themselves over a period of time. Now, over to India, which there is a theory that India will now replace China, because India is west-leaning and India doesn't have any of the normal restraints that the Western countries have in terms of healthcare, welfare, managing labour forces, employers' responsibility, etc., liability. So it looks like India could well take over China's, or the world's, number 2 economy, which at the moment is China. The population is lower, smaller than China, but it doesn't have the formalities or doesn't have the restrictions that China has as a communist party. That brings us on to the US. So the US is going to one track, and that is going down. The Biden administration and his cronies are hell-bent on destroying the United States of America through immigration, open borders, and obviously through massive national debt and spending their way all the way to the election. And hopefully they're dreaming that everything's going to turn out hunky-dory and they're going to come out of any potential recession. Well, that's not going to happen, because it's all going to implode in the US. You might have it glazed over or washed over a little bit during the election year, but once the election year is over, then you're going to have a serious fall as far as stock markets are concerned, just in time to blame Trump as Trump gets into the White House in November 2024, or we all hope that is. So overall, industrial production globally is falling, and any excess will be absorbed by China and India. Where does that leave financial markets? As far as financial markets are concerned, they're all being pegged up by a few companies like Nvidia, by Meta, by Amazon, by Apple. They're not really being pegged up by any broad-based rise as far as financial markets are concerned. However, once the plug is pulled, or the rug is pulled from under the feet of Nvidia and Meta, then you will see a significant fall in financial markets. At the moment, it's being held up by the semiconductor phase and the fact that interest rates are going to go down in the US. That euphoria is going to dry up, is going to turn, and then markets will fall. Have a great day.